Matched with the Billionaire by Molly Arden. Chapter 1. Tessa. I stand in the middle of the green table, taking it all in. The sunlight streams through the large, wide-pane windows, casting a golden glow over the space. My space. The tables, all handcrafted from reclaimed wood, are being set up by the crew, each one meticulously arranged to cultivate a warm, intimate atmosphere. Small vases brimming with fresh flowers from the local market sit at the center of each table, their delicate fragrance mingling with the earthy scent of sawdust and the faint tang of fresh paint. It's exactly as I envisioned, cozy, rustic, and inviting. Every detail around me is a reflection of who I am and what I hold dear: sustainability, community, and real, honest food that nurtures both body and soul. I can almost feel the laughter and conversation that will soon fill the air, layering the space with warmth and connection, just as I intended. It should feel like a triumph, like the moment I've been working toward for years, and yet the weight of it presses down on me, heavy, suffocating. My heart should be soaring, but instead, all I can think about is the investor who backed out last week. Without his funds, I'm barely making it to opening day. Another setback like that, and I don't know how I'll keep things afloat. Hey, boss. Mia's voice pulls me from my thoughts. She's leaning against the bar, smirking at me with that familiar mischievous glint in her eye. You gonna stand there all day staring, or are we actually going to open this place? I force a smile, feeling the corners of my lips tremble slightly, and I tuck a stray strand of hair behind my ear, a nervous habit I can't seem to shake. Just making sure everything's perfect, I reply, hoping my voice sounds more confident than I feel. It is, Mia assures me, striding over to join me at the bar with her characteristic energy. It's more than perfect, Tess. This place is you. People are going to love it. Her enthusiasm is infectious, and for a brief moment, I can almost believe her, my heart fluttering at the thought of a bustling crowd filling the space we've worked so hard to create. I hope she's right. I glance around again, trying to see the restaurant the way my future customers will. Inviting, personal, a space they'll want to return to over and over again. But all I see is the looming shadow of unpaid bills and an unfinished kitchen. Mia eyes me knowingly, crossing her arms with that familiar mix of annoyance and understanding that only a best friend can convey. You could have taken on that new investor. It would have solved a lot of your problems. My stomach twists at the thought, a knot tightening with the memory of the offer. Not happening. Come on, she pushes, her voice laced with a hint of exasperation. I know you're stubborn, but even you have to admit you need help. It's not like you have to marry the guy. I can feel my defenses rising, an instinctive reaction to her suggestion. I'm not letting anyone come in and take control of this, I say, my tone a little sharper than I intend, each word tinged with the weight of past experiences. Mia's teasing smile fades slightly, replaced by a look of concern that makes my throat tighten. I sigh, running a hand through my hair in frustration, feeling the strands slip through my fingers as if they embody the chaos swirling in my mind. I just can't, Mia. Not after him. The words hang heavy between us, a reminder of the scars I still carry, the lessons learned the hard way. She doesn't need me to say Damon's name. She already knows the story, how he swept in with his charm and money, only to use it as a weapon to control every part of my life. My career, my choices, even my friends. By the end, I didn't even recognize myself. It took everything I had to break free, and I swore I'd never let another man use his wealth to hold power over me again. Mia softens, her expression shifting from concern to understanding as she rests a gentle hand on my shoulder, grounding me in the moment. I get it, Tessa. I do. But you can't do everything on your own. You don't have to carry the weight of the world by yourself. I muster a weak smile, feeling the familiar flicker of defiance igniting within me. Watch me. The words spill out with a mix of bravado and vulnerability, a challenge to both her and the lingering shadows of my past. At lunch, after the crew breaks for the day, I retreat to my office in the back. My laptop sits on the desk, staring at me like it knows something I don't. I open it up, pulling up the webpage I'd bookmarked a few days ago. True Curves. A matchmaking agency for women like me, curvy, confident, and looking for something real. My finger hovers over the mouse, and I hesitate. This feels ridiculous. What am I even doing? Signing up for a dating service when my life is already one giant stress ball seems like the worst idea in the world. But Mia's voice echoes in my head, her persistent nudging about how I deserve love, how I shouldn't let Damon's ghost haunt me forever. Maybe she's right. Maybe it's time I stop hiding behind my work and my fear. I click the sign-up button. The profile form is simple enough. Name, age, and a few personal details. When I get to the part about what I'm looking for in a partner, my fingers pause on the keyboard. The words are there, ready to spill out, but I can't help the flash of anxiety that runs through me. Trusting someone again feels like stepping onto thin ice. What if they turn out to be like Damon, charming on the surface but controlling underneath? What if they just see me as some project, something to fix? I shake off the doubt that clings to me like a shadow and start typing. No men obsessed with money or power. I want someone grounded who understands hard work. As I gaze at the words on the screen, they resonate deeply within me. That's what I need. Someone who truly gets what it means to build something from the ground up, just as I've done with this restaurant. It's been a labor of love, a testament to my perseverance and dedication. I crave a partner who won't try to take over my life, but instead will walk beside me, matching my pace, not racing ahead or dragging me down. I click submit before I can second-guess myself, feeling a rush of adrenaline course through me. It's a small step, but it feels monumental. The screen flashes a confirmation message, and I close the laptop, exhaling slowly. My heart is still racing, and I'm not sure if it's from the stress of the restaurant or the fact that I just put myself out there again. It's been so long since I've even thought about dating, let alone signing up for a matchmaking service. But as I sit there in the quiet of my office, surrounded by the unfinished pieces of my dream, I realize something. Deep down, I know I deserve more than just work and stress. I deserve love. Even if the idea of letting someone in again terrifies me, I can't let that fear keep me closed off forever. With one last glance at my laptop, I push it aside and head back out to the restaurant. There's still work to be done, and for now, that's enough to keep the fear at bay. Chapter 2. Lucas. The morning air is cool and crisp as I step out onto the vineyard. The sun is just starting to rise, casting a soft, golden light over the rows of vines stretching out as far as the eye can see. There's something about this time of day, the quiet, the stillness, that calms me. I breathe in the scent of the earth, the faint sweetness of ripening grapes carried on the breeze. This is where I feel at peace, where I feel like myself. I run my hand along the vines as I walk through the rows, inspecting the leaves and checking the soil. There's a rhythm to this work, a simplicity that I crave. Out here, it's just me and the land. No boardrooms, no stockholders, no pressure to live up to the Devereaux name. It's why I stay. It's why I fought so hard to make the vineyard my life. But no matter how far I run, no matter how deep I bury myself in the work, I can't escape the shadow of my family. My father's voice echoes in my head. It's time to stop playing farmer and come back to the real world, Lucas. He said it on the phone last night with the same condescension he always uses when discussing the vineyard. To him, this place is just a hobby, something I'll eventually grow tired of. He doesn't understand why I'd want to spend my life tending grapes when there's so much money to be made in the corporate world. For him, it's all about profit margins, acquisitions, and deals. For me, it's about breathing. Listen. I stop at the edge of the vineyard and look out over the rolling hills. The sun is higher now, the light growing stronger, casting long shadows across the land. This is the world I want to live in. The world of nature, of simple, honest work. But my family? They only see me as the heir to the Devereaux fortune, the one who's supposed to take over the family business and keep building the empire. They don't see me. They never have. I check my phone, half expecting another call from my father or maybe my mother, reminding me of some event I'm supposed to attend. Instead, there's a new email notification. True Curves Matchmaking. I've always been skeptical of matchmaking agencies, but after my last relationship, I'm ready to try something different. Marissa had seemed perfect at first. Beautiful, smart, driven, but it didn't take long for me to realize that she was more interested in my last name than in who I was. Every time we went out, every conversation, every interaction, I could see it in her eyes. I was just another stepping stone, another asset to acquire. It was exhausting, being treated like a commodity. That's why I signed up for True Curves in the first place. I wanted something different, someone different. I opened the email and skimmed through the message. They found a match for me, Tessa Morgan. She's a local chef, apparently, with her own restaurant. Her profile says she's looking for someone who understands hard work and values authenticity. No men obsessed with money or power. I clicked the link to view her profile, my heart racing with a mix of anticipation and hope. She's beautiful, with warm eyes that seem to hold 1,000 untold stories, and a smile that looks like it could light up a room even on the dreariest of days. But what draws me in more than just her appearance is the way she talks about her restaurant. Her passion leaps off the screen. She describes her commitment to locally sourced ingredients with such fervor, detailing the farmers she works with and the seasonal dishes she creates. It's clear that she values independence and integrity above all else. She's passionate, driven, and, more importantly, she doesn't seem like the kind of woman who'd care about my last name or the weight it carries. I hesitate for a moment, my finger hovering nervously over the button to send a message. The thought of reaching out fills me with both excitement and dread. I know I should tell her the truth, about who I am, about where I come from. But I've done that before, and every time it's the same story. They all see the money first, the power, the legacy. No one ever looks past it, and I can't help but wonder if Tessa will be any different. I pull up my profile and start editing, my heart racing as I navigate the familiar interface. I delete my last name with a firm swipe of my finger, erasing not just a word, but a weight I've carried for far too long. I remove any mention of the family business, that gilded cage of expectations and judgments that has always defined me. Instead, I describe myself simply as the owner of a vineyard, a humble steward of the land who loves the earth and the labor it takes to nurture it. It feels like a lie, a carefully constructed facade, but at the same time, it feels like the only way to give myself a chance, a real chance, to connect with someone who might actually see me beyond the facade. I hit save and close my phone, slipping it back into my pocket with a mixture of trepidation and hope. I know it's a risk, hiding this part of myself, concealing the legacy that looms over me like a dark cloud. But I'm so tired of being judged for something that has absolutely nothing to do with the essence of who I am. Maybe with Tessa, things will be different. Maybe she'll see the real man, behind the fortune. Maybe, for once, I won't have to be Lucas Devereaux, billionaire heir, trapped in an identity crafted by others. Maybe I can just be Lucas, free to explore the depths of my true self without the suffocating expectations. I look back out over the vineyard, the sun casting a warm glow over the rows of vines swaying gently in the breeze, as if they too are whispering secrets of resilience and authenticity. For now, at least, this is my world, unfiltered and unencumbered, and I'm going to hold on to it for as long as I can, cherishing every moment of this fleeting freedom. Chapter 3. Tessa. I push open the door to the rustic spoon, the familiar jingle of the bell above the door greeting me like an old friend. I picked this place for a reason. It's cozy, low-key, and filled with warm memories of breakfasts with Mia or lazy Sunday lunches after the farmer's market. There's nothing intimidating about it, and I need that tonight. It helps keep the nerves at bay. I scan the room, my heart doing a little flip when I spot Lucas sitting at a corner table, a familiar figure amidst the cozy atmosphere. He's early. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a rugged, easygoing look that instantly puts me at ease, like a warm hug on a chilly day. He's wearing a casual button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing his tanned forearms that speak of sun-soaked weekends and outdoor adventures. For a brief moment, I lose myself in the sight of him, an undeniable charm radiating from his relaxed posture, and I have to remind myself to breathe. Okay, he's attractive, very attractive, but keep it together, Tessa. It's just a first date. He glances up and locks eyes with me, flashing a smile that's genuine, effortlessly warm, and devoid of any pretense. My nerves, which had held me tightly in their grasp, begin to loosen just a little, like a breath of fresh air. This might not be so bad after all. Hey, I say as I reach the table, striving to sound casual, as if I'm not grappling with the butterflies that have taken flight in my stomach. Sorry if I kept you waiting. Not at all, Lucas replies, rising to his feet as I approach. His relaxed demeanor is inviting, and I can't help but feel a sense of comfort in his presence. I like being early. Gives me time to take in the surroundings. He gestures slightly to the cozy cafe, and I follow his gaze, noticing the charming decor and the soft murmur of conversations around us. He gestures to the seat across from him, and I slide into it, appreciating the easy way he moves. No pretension, no arrogance, just calm confidence. I've been on enough bad dates to know the difference. "So, what do you think of the place?" I ask, more to fill the silence than anything else. I've always loved the rustic spoon, the soft lighting, the mismatched wooden tables, the chalkboard menu with daily specials written in colorful scrawl. It's the kind of place that feels like home, and right now, that's exactly what I need. "It's great," Lucas says, his gaze drifting around the room, taking in the rustic decor and the gentle hum of activity. "I can see why you picked it. It's got that small-town charm, warm and inviting, like a cozy hug." I nod, a small smile tugging at my lips as I fiddle with the corner of my napkin, feeling the soft fabric between my fingers. "Yeah, I come here a lot. It's comfortable, you know? The kind of place where you can just relax and be yourself, away from all the noise of the outside world." He smiles, and for a moment, the weight I've been carrying feels a little lighter. We place our orders, and soon the conversation flows easily, like we've known each other longer than the few minutes we've been sitting together. Lucas starts talking about his vineyard, and I can't help but notice how his face lights up when he describes the land, the work it takes to maintain it, and the satisfaction he gets from watching the grapes grow. "The vineyard's been in the family for a while," he explains, his eyes glinting with passion. "I've always been drawn to it. The way the land changes with the seasons, the care it takes to produce something real. It's hard work, but it's rewarding." I find myself smiling as I listen, completely captivated by his enthusiasm. It's rare to meet someone who truly understands the value of hard work, the kind that makes your hands dirty and your muscles ache, yet leaves you with something tangible and meaningful at the end of the day. There's a certain beauty in that toil, a satisfaction that comes from watching the fruits of your labor blossom into something extraordinary. That's what the green table is for me, years of effort and heart, all poured into one space. It's nice to meet someone who gets that. "You know," I say, leaning forward slightly, "that's exactly how I feel about my restaurant. It's been such a long road to get here, but knowing I've built something with my own two hands from the ground up makes it all worth it. I can't imagine doing anything else." We trade stories about our work, about the struggles and the victories, and with every word, I feel myself relaxing. Lucas isn't just talking to fill the silence. He's actually listening, responding with thoughtful questions, and sharing his own experiences without making it all about him. It's refreshing. But as the evening wears on, that familiar caution creeps in, a shadow that lingers just out of sight. I like him, maybe too much. And that's the problem. I've been charmed by men before, men who seemed perfect at first, only to show their true colors later. Damon had been charming too, attentive, caring until he wasn't, until the control started, until I realized I wasn't his partner, I was his possession. I catch myself before my thoughts spiral too far. Lucas isn't Damon. He's not giving me any reason to doubt him, but when he talks about how much work it takes to run the vineyard, I can't help the flicker of uncertainty. Is he hiding something? Is this a red flag? My guard goes up, just a little. Lucas must notice the shift in my demeanor because he pauses for a moment, tilting his head slightly as he gives me a soft, almost reassuring smile that seems to cut through the tension. "I didn't mean to talk your ear off about the vineyard. I hope I'm not boring you," he says, his voice gentle and inviting. "No, not at all," I say quickly, my tone a bit too eager as I force myself to push the doubts aside. "I like hearing about it. You're obviously passionate about what you do." I want him to feel my sincerity, to know that his enthusiasm is infectious, even if a small part of me still hesitates. "Same goes for you," he replies, his eyes warm and filled with genuine admiration. It's rare to meet someone who's built something from the ground up, like you have with the restaurant. That takes guts. His words wash over me, and for a brief moment, I feel a flicker of pride mixed with the lingering uncertainty. It's a reminder that not everyone is like Damon, and perhaps, just perhaps, I can allow myself to be open to the possibility of trust again. His words hit me harder than I expect. I've spent so long fighting to keep the green table alive, sometimes I forget that it's something to be proud of. Hearing Lucas acknowledge it, it feels good. Really good. We linger over dinner, the conversation flowing easily again, but the caution never fully leaves me. I want to trust Lucas, but I know better than to let my guard down too quickly. When the check comes, we both reach for it, and he gives me a mock-serious look. I insist, he says, his tone light but firm, as if he's making a declaration that brooks no argument. Next time, you can pay. Next time, huh? I raise an eyebrow, but a smile stretches across my face, betraying the playful challenge in his voice. There's a spark in the air between us, something electric that I can't ignore. Definitely, he replies, his eyes holding mine for just a second longer than necessary, an unspoken promise lingering in the silence. There's something there, something deeper than mere friendship, something I'm not sure I'm ready to admit yet. But it's enough to make me want to see him again, to explore whatever this is that's blossoming between us. We part ways with a promise to meet again soon, the words hanging between us like a delicate thread. As I drive home, my mind races with possibilities. The date was good, really good, better than I expected, filled with laughter and moments that felt both lighthearted and profound, but that's exactly what scares me. The thrill of connection mingles with the nagging worry that I might be setting myself up for disappointment. I've been here before, haven't I? Feeling that spark, getting my hopes up, only to have everything come crashing down. I want to trust Lucas, I really do. But after everything I've been through, I know better than to rush in. As I pull into my driveway, I take a deep breath, trying to quiet the swirl of emotions inside me. One step at a time. Tessa, no need to rush. I remind myself that good things often come to those who wait, but it's hard to shake off the excitement that's bubbling just beneath the surface. But as I sit in the car, my thoughts drift back to Lucas's easy smile, the way it seemed to effortlessly brighten even the gloomiest of days, and how his eyes lit up when he talked about the vineyard, his passion spilling over like the wine he described so vividly. I can't help the little spark of hope that flares in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. Chapter 4. Lucas. I can't stop thinking about Tessa. As I drive back to the vineyard, the soft hum of the engine is the only sound cutting through the stillness of the night. The roads are quiet, winding through open fields and darkened hills, but my mind is anything but calm. The date was different. In a good way. No, in a great way. She's different. Confident, passionate, driven. Everything I've always wanted but never thought I'd find. When she talked about her restaurant, her whole face lit up, her voice filled with pride. It's obvious she's poured everything she has into that place, just like I've done with the vineyard. But there's more to it. Tessa isn't just hardworking or ambitious. She's real. She's not playing games or pretending to be something she's not. And that's the part that gets me. She's genuine in a way I haven't encountered in a long time. Every woman I've dated recently, it was like they were more interested in what I represented than who I am. My last name, my money, my family's empire. That's what they saw, not me. But with Tessa, it feels different. She doesn't know any of that. She just sees Lucas, the guy who runs a vineyard, and I'm scared to death of what will happen when she knows the rest. No! My hands tighten on the steering wheel as her words from earlier echo in my mind. No men obsessed with money or power. I want someone grounded, who understands hard work. She couldn't have been clearer. She's been burned before, and I can guess why. Some guy, probably like me on paper, wealthy, powerful, used his money to control her, manipulate her. And now here I am, doing exactly what I promised myself I wouldn't do. Hiding, lying even. She thinks I'm just the owner of a vineyard, and I am. But that's not the whole story. I pass the familiar fields leading up to the vineyard, the gentle slope of the land bathed in moonlight. Normally, this view calms me. Out here, surrounded by the vines, I feel like I can breathe. Like I can be who I want to be, not who my family expects me to be. But tonight, the beauty of it feels tainted, overshadowed by the weight pressing on my chest. The truth is, every time she talked about her restaurant, about how hard she's worked to build something for herself, my guilt twisted like a knife. She deserves to know the truth. She deserves someone who's upfront with her, not someone who's hiding behind half-truths. But how can I tell her? We're just getting to know each other. It's too soon. She'll think I've been lying from the start, and maybe I have. But if I tell her now, I risk losing her before we've even begun. And if I wait, if I let this go on, I don't know how much harder it'll be to come clean. By the time I pull up to the house, my head's a chaotic whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The gravel crunches under the tires as I park, and I sit there for a moment, staring out at the vineyard, which is softly illuminated by the warm glow of the porch lights. I should feel a sense of relief washing over me, the familiar comfort of home wrapping around me like a favorite blanket. But all I feel is this gnawing tension in my gut, a tightness that constricts my chest and makes it hard to breathe. As I sit there, lost in the quiet of the evening, my phone buzzes insistently in the cup holder, breaking the silence like a sudden thunderclap. I already know who it is without even glancing at the screen. Sure enough, my father's name flashes across the display, a reminder of the weighty expectations that seem to follow me wherever I go. I let it ring, watching the screen dim and eventually go dark, a small act of defiance against the pressure I feel. It's the third call today, and I can only imagine it's about the same relentless topics. The latest deal that demands my attention, the next corporate meeting looming on the horizon, the endless expectations of the Devereux legacy that seem to suffocate any chance of freedom. I lean back in the seat, closing my eyes, the weight of it all pressing down on me. I can already hear his voice in my head. You can't keep running from this, Lucas. The vineyard is nice, but it's not your future. You belong at the top. Stop wasting your potential. I ignore the buzzing as it starts again. I can't deal with him tonight, not when my mind is already spinning from everything with Tessa. He's always there, hovering, reminding me of the life I've been trying so hard to distance myself from. But no matter how hard I work out here, no matter how much I've built this life for myself, the shadow of the Devereux name is impossible to escape. I step out of the car, the cool night air brushing against my skin as I walk up to the house. The vines stretch out in every direction, and for a moment, I let myself get lost in the view. The vineyard is quiet, peaceful, the rows of grapes swaying gently in the breeze. This place has always been my refuge, the one spot where I can be just Lucas. But tonight, even this peace feels fragile. I step inside and head straight for my office, my footsteps echoing softly against the polished wooden floor. The large windows offer a breathtaking view of the vineyard where the moonlight casts a silvery glow over the rows of grapes. As I sink into the familiar embrace of the leather chair behind my desk, I let out a shaky breath and stare out at the land, the knot in my chest twisting tighter with each passing moment. How long can I keep this up? How long can I keep pretending with Tessa? The question hangs heavy in the air, a weight pressing down on my shoulders. Each day feels like a delicate balancing act, and I can't shake the fear that it will all come crashing down around me. I pull out my phone and scroll back through her profile on True Curves. Her words leap out at me, a stark reminder of what I'm up against. No men obsessed with money or power. I want someone grounded who understands hard work. That's what I want to be for her. Someone real. Someone who understands the value of building something from nothing. But the longer I hide the truth, the more I become exactly the kind of man she doesn't want. I toss the phone on the desk and run a hand through my hair, the frustration bubbling up inside me. It's too soon. I barely know her. I need time to build trust, to show her who I really am. But every day that passes, the lie gets bigger. And when the truth finally comes out, and it will come out, I don't know if she'll be able to see past it. The phone buzzes again, a persistent reminder of my father's relentless demands, and for a fleeting moment, I'm tempted to hurl it across the room in frustration. Instead, I swipe the screen to silence the call, the action feeling almost cathartic, and then I toss the device face down on the desk, as if to banish it from my thoughts entirely. Right now, I simply can't deal with him. My focus needs to be on Tessa and the tangled web of lies I've woven. Leaning back in the chair, I let my gaze drift out toward the sprawling vineyard, its lush green expanse both beautiful and haunting. I wonder how long I can maintain this charade, this fragile facade I've constructed. The desire to be honest with her gnaws at me. The urge to lay bare my truth and share everything that weighs on my heart. Yet the thought of losing the one thing that feels authentic, that makes all the chaos in my life seem manageable, is terrifying. What if revealing my true self pushes her away? What if I lose her before we even get a chance to be together? And that's a risk I'm not sure I'm ready to take. Chapter 5. Tessa. I didn't expect Lucas to suggest the farmer's market for our second date, but I have to admit, it's perfect. The market is one of my favorite places in town. There's something comforting about the smell of fresh produce, the colorful stalls overflowing with fruits and vegetables, and the sense of community that lingers in the air. It's simple, familiar, and unpretentious, just like I want my life to be. When I arrive, the market is already buzzing with people, a vibrant tapestry of voices and laughter weaving through the air. I spot Lucas near the entrance, animatedly chatting with a vendor selling handmade candles, their scents mingling together in a delightful way. As I draw closer, he turns to me, and the easy smile he gives me instantly calms the fluttering nerves in my stomach, soothing me like a gentle breeze. "Hey," he says, offering me a warm nod that feels like an invitation into a world where everything is just right. "I thought this might be your kind of place." I can't help but grin, feeling the sun's comforting warmth on my face, wrapping me in a pleasant embrace. "You thought right," I reply, a spark of excitement igniting within me as I take in the lively atmosphere around us. We walk side by side through the stalls, and I find myself relaxing into the rhythm of the market. Lucas is easy to talk to, and I'm surprised by how much he knows about sustainable farming. He points out a stall selling organic honey and starts explaining how important bees are to the ecosystem. I can't help but be impressed, not just by his knowledge, but by the fact that he genuinely cares about this stuff. "I didn't realize you were so into sustainability," I say as we stop at a booth selling heirloom tomatoes, their bright reds, yellows, and greens bursting with color like a painter's palette. The vivid hues seem almost alive, inviting me to reach out and touch them. "Part of running a vineyard," Lucas replies, his eyes lighting up as he picks up one of the tomatoes and inspects it closely, turning it over in his hands as if it were a precious gem. "We use similar practices to keep the soil healthy. If the soil's not right, nothing else works." His passion is palpable, and I admire the way he speaks about the earth with such reverence, as if it were an old friend deserving of respect and care. I nod watching him. He talks about the vineyard with the same passion I feel for my restaurant, and that draws me in. It's rare to meet someone who gets it, who understands the dedication it takes to build something meaningful. Most people only see the final product, the wine on the table or the food on the plate, but Lucas knows it's the work behind the scenes that really matters. "Kind of like running a restaurant," I say, smiling as I lean against the edge of the stall. "If you don't put the effort in, you don't get the results." "Exactly." He smiles back, and for a brief moment, we're suspended in our own little world, surrounded by the vibrant chaos of the market. The sounds of haggling voices and laughter seem to fade away, leaving just the two of us in this bubble of understanding. His eyes are warm, glimmering with sincerity, and for the first time in what feels like ages, I feel comfortable. Safe, even. It's as if all the weight I've been carrying has lightened, if only for this fleeting exchange. We grab lunch at a small food truck serving fresh tacos, finding a quiet spot under a large oak tree to sit and eat. The conversation flows easily again. Lucas talks more about the vineyard, and I share some stories about the green table. But as the afternoon stretches on, the conversation shifts. It gets more personal. "What about you?" Lucas asks, his tone soft but curious. "You said you've been through a lot. Mind if I ask what happened?" My stomach tightens a little at the question, but I knew it would come up eventually. I take a breath, steadying myself before answering. It was my ex, Damon. At first he seemed perfect. Charming, successful, all the things you think you want. But over time, he became controlling. Everything was about power with him, using his money to keep me under his thumb. Lucas doesn't interrupt. He just listens, his brow furrowing slightly as I talk, his expression a mix of empathy and concern. I appreciate that. He doesn't try to fill the silence with platitudes or offer empty reassurances that would only serve to diminish my experience. Instead, He creates a space where I can voice my feelings freely, allowing me to unravel my story at my own pace. It got to the point where I didn't even recognize myself anymore. I continue, my voice quieter now, almost a whisper, as the weight of my memory settles heavily in the air between us. I left him, but it took a lot to get out. And ever since, it's been hard for me to trust, especially men with money and power. The words feel like a release, but they also carry a tinge of lingering fear. I glance at Lucas, bracing myself for judgment or pity in his eyes, but all I find is understanding. His gaze is steady and compassionate, and it reassures me more than I expected. "I'm sorry you went through that," he says after a moment, his voice gentle yet firm. "No one should have that kind of control over you." His words echo in my mind, a balm for old wounds that still ache deep within me. His voice is gentle, and there's an undeniable sincerity in the way he speaks that makes me truly believe he means it. It's as if he's drawing from a well of personal experience, as if he understands the suffocating weight of being trapped beneath someone else's expectations, the kind that can wrap around you like a vine, restricting your every move. I guess that's why I'm cautious now, I admit, my fingers absent-mindedly picking at a piece of my taco, the flavors mingling in a way that feels almost foreign. It's hard to let my guard down, even when I genuinely want to. The admission hangs in the air, a fragile confession that reveals how deeply the past still shadows my present. Lucas leans back against the sturdy trunk of the tree, his eyes thoughtful and piercing as they search mine for understanding. "I get that," he replies, his voice steady and reassuring. "Trust takes time, but I hope you know you can be yourself with me." His words settle comfortably between us, a promise that feels like a shelter from the storm of my insecurities. It's a simple statement, but the way he says it makes my heart flutter. I smile at him, feeling a little of that tension inside me start to loosen. There's still a small voice in the back of my mind, warning me to be careful, to protect myself, but it's quieter now. Lucas isn't Damon. He's not trying to control me, and for the first time in a long time, I start to wonder if maybe it's okay to let my guard down, just a little. We finish our lunch, and as we stand to leave, Lucas turns to me, a soft, almost hesitant smile lighting up his face. It's the kind of smile that makes my heart skip a beat, filled with warmth and sincerity. "You know, I've had a really great time today," he says, his voice low and genuine. "Me too," I reply. And it's true. I felt more like myself with Lucas than I have in a long time, as if the weight of the world has momentarily lifted off my shoulders. The laughter we shared, the easy conversation, it all feels refreshing, like a breath of fresh air after being trapped indoors for too long. Before I can say anything else, Lucas steps closer, his hand brushing against mine. For a moment we just stand there, the sounds of the market fading into the background. The only thing I'm aware of is the warmth of his hand and the way his eyes meet mine. "Can I kiss you?" he asks, his voice low and careful, as if he's afraid to break the delicate moment we've created. It's such a simple question, yet it sends a rush of warmth coursing through me, igniting something deep within. I nod, and before I fully process what's happening, his lips are on mine, soft and sheer, like a promise. In that instant, all the fear and doubt I've been holding on to begin to slip away, dissipating like the morning mist as the sun rises. When we finally pull back, I can't help but smile, a genuine grin that feels foreign yet exhilarating. I feel light, as if a weight has been lifted, like maybe, just maybe, things could be different this time, that I could allow myself to believe in the possibility of joy. But as we walk back through the bustling market, fingers intertwined, each step infused with a sense of newfound hope, there's still that small, nagging voice inside me. It whispers reminders of caution, echoing the lessons learned from past heartaches. I've been here before, feeling that exhilarating spark, letting my guard down, only to get hurt in the end. Still, as I glance over at Lucas, I can't help but hope that this time will be different. Maybe with him, I won't have to be so afraid. Chapter 6. Lucas. The drive back to the vineyard should be peaceful, a serene end to a long day filled with the usual chaos of vineyard life. Normally, I'd roll down the windows wide and let the cool evening air rush in, its crispness clearing my head and washing away the remnants of stress. But tonight, there's no escaping the weight pressing down on me, a burden that feels almost suffocating. Tessa. Her smile lingers in my mind, bright and infectious, her laugh a melody that dances through my thoughts. I can still picture the way she looks at me, with those warm, inviting eyes, as if I'm just another guy, a regular guy who happens to run a vineyard, not Lucas Devereaux, the heir to a sprawling fortune and all the expectations that come with it. Every time I'm with her, I feel this profound connection, something genuine and unforced that pulls me in. And yet, the guilt grows heavier with each passing day, an anchor that threatens to drag me down. She doesn't know the truth, the secrets that cling to my past like shadows, always lurking just out of sight. I can still hear her voice from earlier today talking about her ex, Damon, and how he used his money and power to control her. The pain in her eyes cut through me like a knife. And what did I do? I sat there, comforting her, pretending to be the guy who could understand her pain, when the truth is, I'm the exact kind of man she's trying to avoid. Every time she opens up to me, every time she trusts me with her fears, I feel like I'm betraying her. I'm falling for her. There's no doubt about that. But how can I keep deceiving her? I grip the steering wheel tighter as I pull onto the long gravel driveway leading to the vineyard. The headlights cut through the dark, illuminating the rows of grapevines that stretch out like endless waves in the moonlight. Normally, this place feels like home. Out here, I can breathe. But tonight, even the vineyard feels like a prison, trapping me in a lie I can't seem to escape. As I park the car, the crunch of gravel under the tires echoes in the stillness of the night, and my heart sinks as I spot two figures standing near the front door of the house. My stomach drops like a stone. My parents. A wave of anxiety washes over me, tightening my chest. I can already feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. They don't just drop by for casual visits. They've flown in from New York for one reason and one reason only, to push me back into the family business. The thought sends a shiver down my spine, and I take a moment to collect myself before stepping out of the car, bracing for what's to come. I take a deep breath, steeling myself as I step out of the car. My father, William Devereaux, stands with his arms crossed, his expression tight. My mother, elegant as always in her designer coat, watches me with a mixture of concern and disappointment. Lucas, my father says in that clipped, authoritative tone he's honed to perfection over the years. It's the kind of voice that could cut through steel, commanding and unyielding. We need to talk. Of course we do. We always need to talk when I'm not doing exactly what he wants, when I'm daring to live my life on my own terms. Couldn't this have waited? I ask, striving to keep my voice steady and neutral as I approach them. My heart pounds a little faster with each step, echoing the anxiety coiling in my stomach. The weight of their expectations presses down on me like a heavy fog, suffocating and unrelenting, making it hard to breathe. We flew in because this couldn't wait. My father snaps, his eyes narrowing with a fierce intensity as he stands his ground, a fortress of authority. You've been avoiding our calls, and there's a deal on the table that needs your immediate attention. Each word is like a stone, heavy and unyielding, leaving no room for negotiation. I roll my eyes, stuffing my hands into my pockets to keep them from clenching into fists. It's a futile attempt to mask the frustration boiling just beneath the surface. I've already told you, I'm not interested. My voice is steadier than I feel, but the defiance is there, a flicker of resistance in the face of his demands. My father's jaw tightens, a clear sign that he's digging in his heels. You're wasting your potential out here, Lucas. This vineyard is fine for a hobby, but it's not your future. The Devereaux name carries weight, and you have responsibilities. His voice is firm, resonating with an authority that I can't easily dismiss. The words feel like a heavy yoke settling on my shoulders, constricting my already limited options. I glance over at my mother, hoping for a shred of support to lighten the oppressive weight of my father's expectations, but she just shakes her head, her disappointment clear and palpable. Your father's right. We didn't raise you to turn your back on the family legacy. Each syllable from her lips feels like a nail being driven into my resolve, reinforcing the pressure to conform to a path I'm desperate to escape. Here we go again. The same argument over and over. They don't get it. They never have. To them, the vineyard is a distraction, something I'll grow tired of eventually, but it's the only place where I feel like myself, where I don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations. The vineyard is my future, I say, my voice sharper than I intended, each word dripping with conviction. I'm happy here. My father steps forward, his gaze hard and unwavering, as if trying to pierce through my resolve. Happy? You think playing farmer is going to make you happy when you have the opportunity to run a billion-dollar empire? You're wasting your time, Lucas. I bite back the retort sitting on my tongue, the frustration bubbling beneath the surface. What's the point? They'll never understand why I need this place, why I'm fighting so hard to keep it alive against their relentless expectations. To them, it's just dirt and vines, but to me, it's a sanctuary, a canvas where I can paint my own dreams. There's a deal on the table, my father continues, his voice low and commanding, the weight of his words pressing down on me. A very lucrative deal that could expand our holdings globally, but it requires your involvement, your name on the contract. The finality in his tone sends a shiver down my spine, as if he's sealing my fate with those few words. My stomach twists with frustration. This is what they always do. Dangle money and power in front of me like it's the only thing that matters. But I don't want that life. Not anymore. I'm not interested in the deal, I say firmly, meeting my father's gaze with unwavering resolve. The room feels charged with tension, each heartbeat echoing the weight of our disagreement. I told you that months ago, and I meant it. And I'm telling you, Lucas, my father responds, his voice rising with an intensity that cuts through the air. This is bigger than you. It's about the future of our family and everything we've built. You can't keep running from your responsibilities, hiding behind your personal ideals while the rest of us fight to secure our legacy. The disappointment in his eyes stings, but I refuse to let it sway me. I grit my teeth, my hands balling into fists in my pockets. The vineyard is the only thing that keeps me grounded, the only thing that feels real. But to them, it's nothing more than a distraction. And now, with Tessa in the picture, everything feels even more complicated. After a tense silence that stretches uncomfortably, my mother finally breaks it, her voice softened, almost pleading. Lucas, we just want what's best for you. The weight of her words hangs in the air, but I shake my head, unable to look at them any longer. What's best for me? Or what's best for the family business? My voice carries the bitterness of years spent feeling trapped between my own desires and their expectations. Neither of them responds, their silence echoing louder than any argument. I can sense the disappointment radiating from them, but I refuse to be swayed. The air feels thick with unspoken words and unresolved tensions, and I wonder if this moment will forever linger in the back of my mind, a reminder of the chasm that has grown between us. Without another word, I walk past them into the house, the weight of their expectations pressing down on me like a stone. I slam the door behind me, leaning against it for a moment as I try to catch my breath. This is why I stay at the vineyard. This is why I fought so hard to carve out my own life. But now everything is starting to blur. My family's pressure, the secret I'm keeping from Tessa, the guilt that gnaws at me every time I look into her eyes. I head upstairs to my bedroom, the familiar creak of the floorboards echoing my unease. I know I won't sleep tonight. Not with all of this swirling in my head, a tempest that refuses to settle. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I feel the weight of my thoughts pressing down like an oppressive blanket. All I can think about is Tessa. She deserves the truth, the kind of honesty that could shatter everything. I can't keep lying to her, not when I feel like this, when my heart races at the very thought of her. But every time I imagine telling her, the vision is like a dark cloud. I see her walking away, the hurt in her eyes, the betrayal etched on her face. And that's a risk I'm not sure I can take, a gamble that could cost me everything. I close my eyes, but the restlessness is still there, gnawing at me like a hungry creature. I'm falling for her, deeper with each passing moment, but how can I be with her when I'm living a lie? The thought churns in my stomach, a bitter reminder that the truth has a price. How long can I keep this up before everything comes crashing down? Chapter 7. Tessa. The soft opening was supposed to be this week. I should be feeling the excitement of welcoming my first customers, watching them taste the food I've poured my heart and soul into. But instead, I'm staring at an ever-growing pile of bills on my kitchen counter, my stomach in knots. Another delay, another unexpected cost. I run a hand through my hair, feeling the weight of it all pressing down on me. The plumbing issues I didn't anticipate, the supplier charging double for ingredients I can't source anywhere else. It's like the universe is conspiring against me. I've been juggling everything: staff schedules, sourcing fresh produce, negotiating with vendors, and it feels like I'm one step away from dropping it all. I grab a cup of coffee and sit at the counter, my fingers tracing the edge of a bill absent-mindedly. The numbers blur together. I don't even want to think about how much money I'm hemorrhaging just trying to get the green table off the ground, but I refuse to let it fall apart now. I've worked too hard, sacrificed too much. Tessa, you have to let someone help, Mia says, her voice soft but insistent as she leans against the counter across from me, her arms crossed in a gesture that's both comforting and challenging. Her eyes, filled with concern, lock onto mine, and I can see the unspoken worry etched on her face. You can't keep doing this alone. I glance up at her, forcing a smile that feels more like a mask than a genuine expression, a thin veneer over the turmoil bubbling just beneath the surface. I've got it under control, I insist, trying to project confidence despite the chaos swirling in my mind. A storm of to-do lists, vendor calls, and the nagging fear of failure. The truth is, each day feels like a tightrope walk, and I'm terrified of the plunge that awaits if I let go. Mia raises an eyebrow, her gaze penetrating. Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're drowning. Her words hang in the air, heavy with concern, and I can't help but feel the truth in them. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself against the rising tide of anxiety. She's not wrong, but the idea of bringing on a new investor sends a chill down my spine. I can't do that. Not after what Damon put me through, the betrayal, the loss of trust. I'm not giving up control of the restaurant, I say firmly, my voice unwavering. Not to anyone. The conviction in my words surprises even me, but I know that relinquishing even a sliver of authority feels like inviting chaos back into my life. Mia lets out a frustrated sigh, her arms crossing tightly over her chest as if she can shield herself from the weight of the conversation. This isn't about giving up control, Tessa. It's about not burning out before you even open. You need financial backing, someone who believes in you and what you're trying to create here. I shake my head, feeling a familiar tension knotting in my stomach. I've been down that road before. I'm not going to let anyone else hold the reins. The memories of past partnerships flash through my mind, reminders of the trust I once extended and how it had been twisted into a weapon against me. No, I refuse to be vulnerable like that again. There's a brief silence, Mia watching me with a mix of concern and frustration. She knows why I'm so stubborn about this. She was there when everything fell apart with Damon, how he used his money to control every aspect of my life, even my career, how I lost myself under his thumb. I won't let that happen again. I just don't want to see you getting over your head, Mia says softly, her voice laced with genuine concern that cuts through my steely resolve. I can see the worry etched on her face, the way her brow furrows slightly as she searches my eyes for understanding. You don't have to do this alone. I offer her a weak smile, one that feels more like a mask than a reflection of my true feelings, not quite reaching the depths of my eyes where doubt and fear swirl. I know, but I need to do this my way. The weight of my past still lingers like a shadow, heavy and suffocating, and I can't shake the feeling that if I let anyone else in, even someone as trustworthy as Mia, I risk losing control all over again. The thought alone sends a shiver down my spine, reminding me of how easily trust can be manipulated. She studies me for a moment longer, her gaze searching for any sign of doubt or fear, before finally nodding. Yet I can sense her unease. The furrow in her brow tells me everything I need to know. All right. But if you change your mind, you know where to find me. Her words hang heavy in the air, a lifeline thrown to someone too proud to reach for it. After Mia leaves, the silence of my apartment is almost suffocating. I stare at the bills on the counter, willing the numbers to magically change. They don't. I rub my temples, trying to push down the rising anxiety. I need to figure this out. And soon. Later that evening, I meet Lucas at the vineyard. The air is cool and crisp, and the quiet hum of nature settles my nerves, if only for a little while. He greets me with that easy smile of his, the one that makes me feel like maybe, just maybe, everything will be okay. "Rough day?" he asks, his gaze piercing through my facade and reading the exhaustion etched on my face. I let out a tired laugh that barely masks my frustration. Something like that. The soft openings delayed again, more unexpected costs cropping up out of nowhere. Lucas frowns, his eyes softening with genuine concern. "I'm sorry, Tessa. I know how hard you've been working. You've poured your heart and soul into this." I nod, grateful for his sympathy, his understanding a small comfort amid the chaos. It's just overwhelming. There's so much to manage, and I feel like every time I fix one problem, 3 more pop up, each one more complicated than the last. I run a hand through my hair, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on me. We walk through the vineyard, the moonlight casting a soft glow over the rows of vines. I open up to him about the stress I've been under, balancing the restaurant, managing the staff, trying to source everything locally while staying within budget. Every word feels like I'm peeling back another layer, showing him just how much this dream of mine means to me. "I don't want to give up," I tell him, my voice cracking slightly under the weight of emotion. But sometimes it feels like I'm drowning in all of this. Lucas stops walking, the gravel crunching beneath his feet, and turns to face me, his expression serious and unwavering. "You don't have to do this alone, Tessa. If you need help, financial or otherwise, I'm here." I appreciate the offer and the kindness behind it, but I shake my head almost immediately, a reflex born from pride and determination. No, I can't. I'm not looking for a handout or someone to save me. I need to do this on my own. It has to be my journey. He nods slowly, his gaze steady, respecting my decision, yet I can see the concern still etched in his features, the worry that perhaps I'm taking on too much. "I get it. You're strong, and I admire that. Just know that I'm here, no matter what. You don't have to pretend to be invincible around me." His words linger in the air, a lifeline thrown into the turbulent waters of my thoughts, and for a moment I feel the urge to reach out, to accept the support he offers, but the fear of vulnerability pulls me back, and I take a deep breath, steeling myself once more. I give him a small smile, feeling a flicker of warmth at his words. Lucas has always been supportive and always there to listen without judgment, and I appreciate that more than I can say. It's so different from what I had with Damon. Lucas never tries to control me and never pushes me to make decisions I don't want to make. He's different, and that's what scares me. As we continue walking, a quiet thought tugs at the back of my mind, something about Lucas. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's a feeling I can't shake, like there's more to him than he's letting on. He's kind and attentive, but sometimes I catch a glimpse of something guarded in his eyes, something he's not telling me. But I push the thought aside. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. After everything I went through with Damon, it's hard to trust fully again. And Lucas, he's been nothing but good to me. I don't want to sabotage something that feels real, something that could be good. Still, as we walk hand in hand under the moonlit sky, a small voice in the back of my mind whispers that I need to be careful, that not everything is as it seems. Chapter 8. Lucas. The vineyard stretches out before me, rows of vines swaying gently in the breeze, the sun casting a warm glow over the land. This place has always been my refuge, the one spot where I can clear my head, escape from everything. But today, even here, I can't shake the weight pressing down on me. I'm in love with Tessa. That much is clear. Every time I see her, my chest tightens, not in that uncomfortable, anxious way, but in the way that makes me feel alive. She's everything I never knew I was looking for. Strong, independent, passionate. The way she talks about her restaurant, the fire in her eyes when she talks about her dreams, it pulls me in deeper every time. And the more I'm with her, the more I see a future with her. But that future feels like it's slipping through my fingers, and it's all my fault. I dig my hands into the soil, feeling the earth between my fingers, trying to ground myself. Tessa has no idea who I really am. Every time she talks about how much she despises men who use their wealth to control others, it's like a punch to the gut. Her ex, Damon, did a number on her, and I see how hard she's worked to build herself back up. She deserves someone who's honest with her, who's real. And here I am, hiding the biggest part of my life from her. I should have told her from the very beginning. But how do you break that kind of news to someone like Tessa, someone who holds hard work and independence in the highest regard? The idea of revealing that I'm a billionaire, that I've been lying by omission this entire time, feels monumental. I can't shake the image of her expression when the truth finally dawns on her. It terrifies me to my core. The weight of my deception hangs over me, and I can almost feel her disappointment like a physical presence. Would she see me as just another privileged man? Someone who embodies everything she despises? The thought gnaws at me, tightening my chest with anxiety. I stand up, brushing the dirt off my hands, and glance back toward the house. My family's in town. Again. I've been avoiding them as much as possible, but it's getting harder. My father's calls have become more frequent, more insistent. The last time we spoke, he gave me an ultimatum. Return to New York, take on my role in the family business, or risk losing everything. The thought of it makes my stomach churn. I've never wanted that life. The boardrooms, the endless meetings, the pressure to keep expanding the Devereux's empire. The vineyard is where I belong. It's where I feel at peace. But my father doesn't see it that way. To him, the vineyard is just a hobby, something I'll eventually grow out of. I pull out my phone, my heart sinking as I see yet another missed call from him. No doubt he'll have something to say about my lack of involvement in the latest deal, a lecture on the importance of my presence in the family's business affairs. There's always another deal, another merger, another way to grow the empire, each one more convoluted and draining than the last. But none of it means anything to me anymore. The weight of those expectations presses heavily on my chest, suffocating my desire for a different life. Instead of calling him back, I open my messages and scroll to the last one from Tessa. She's struggling. I know she is. She's trying to keep the green table afloat, trying to balance the stress of managing everything herself, and all I want to do is help her. But every time I offer, she turns me down. She's proud, and I love that about her, but I hate watching her carry the weight of the world on her shoulders when I know I could make it easier. But would that be any better than what Damon did? Offering her money, swooping in to solve her problems. How is that any different? She doesn't want a savior. She wants someone who supports her, someone who believes in her ability to make it on her own. I admire her for that, but it doesn't make the guilt any easier to bear. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's my father. I almost don't answer, the temptation to ignore him pulling at me like a weight at my chest, but I know he'll keep calling until I do. With a reluctant sigh, I swipe to accept the call, bracing myself for what's to come. Lucas? His voice cuts through the air, sharp and unyielding, devoid of any warmth or pleasantries. I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk about the deal with Westgate. I already told you, I'm not interested, I reply, my voice coming out tighter than I intend, each word laced with frustration. This isn't about what you're interested in, he snaps, irritation crackling over the line. This is about the future of the Devereux Empire. You're part of this family, and that comes with responsibilities. I grit my teeth, glancing out at the vineyard stretching before me, the rows of vines heavy with grapes swaying gently in the breeze. I try to keep my cool, but his words ignite a familiar anger within me. I have responsibilities here too. I can feel the tension building, the struggle between my obligations to my family and the life I've chosen for myself weighing heavily in the air. This vineyard is a distraction, he says, dismissing it with a wave of his voice. It's fine as a side project, but you're wasting your potential. The Westgate deal is a huge opportunity, and we need your name on the contract. I shake my head, frustration bubbling up inside me like a storm ready to break. I'm not wasting anything. This is my life. The vineyard, Tessa, it's real, and it's what I want. I can feel the heat rising in my cheeks, the fight igniting a fire within me that demands to be heard. This place, these vines, they represent so much more than mere distraction. They embody my dreams and the future I envision for myself. There's a long pause on the other end of the line, and when my father speaks again, his tone is cold. You can't have both, Lucas. If you don't step up, there will be consequences. I know what he means. He's not threatening me outright, but the message is clear. If I don't play along, I'll lose access to the family's resources, the connections, everything. The life I've built here could fall apart. But I'm not going back. I can't. Then I guess there'll be consequences, I reply, my voice steady, even though my heart is racing like a wild stallion, because I'm not leaving. My father sighs, a heavy, resigned sound that hangs in the air like a storm cloud, meant to make me feel like a disappointment. You're making a mistake, Lucas, but it's your life to ruin. With that, he hangs up, the abrupt end of the conversation ringing in my ears. I stand there, the tension coiled tight in my chest, like a spring ready to snap. I toss the phone onto the porch railing, its clatter echoing in the stillness, and press my hands to my temples, desperately trying to push down the rising frustration that threatens to consume me. Each breath feels labored, as if the weight of his words is pressing down on me, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm teetering on the edge of something monumental. Everything is closing in. My family, their demands, the lie I'm living with Tessa. It's all spiraling, and I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending everything is fine. I pick up the phone again, staring at the screen. I could tell her. I could just call her, ask her to meet me, and finally come clean. But every time I imagine that conversation, I see her walking away, the hurt in her eyes. And that's a risk I'm not sure I'm ready to take. Chapter 9. Tessa. The afternoon sun filters through the trees as Lucas and I stroll through town, his hand warm in mine. It's one of those perfect days where everything feels easy, where we've talked about everything and nothing, letting the conversation flow as we walk from the farmer's market to a small cafe on the corner. Being with him feels right. It's comfortable. But there's also that flicker of something more, something deeper that keeps pulling me toward him. We're standing near the cafe when I see a man approaching. Tall, well-dressed, with an air of authority that makes him stand out from the crowd. Lucas notices him too, and for a moment, his entire demeanor shifts. There's a tension in his body that wasn't there before, but he masks it with a smile as the man walks up to us. Lucas, the man says, his tone casual but pointed, as if he's accustomed to commanding attention. He gives me a brief nod before shifting his focus back to Lucas, and I can't help but notice the way his eyes seem to flicker with interest. I've been trying to get in touch with you. Your father mentioned you might be here. Immediately I sense a change in Lucas. His smile tightens, transforming from warm to something more guarded. The air around us feels heavier, charged with an unspoken tension that hangs between the three of us. Now's not a good time, Greg, he replies, his voice steady yet laced with an edge of impatience that suggests he's done with this interaction. We'll talk later. Greg glances at me again, this time with a hint of curiosity mingled with scrutiny, but he doesn't press the issue, perhaps sensing the undercurrent swirling in the atmosphere. Fine, but we need to discuss the family business soon. You can't keep putting this off, he insists, his tone firm, as if the weight of expectation rests heavily on Lucas's shoulders. Lucas nods quickly, cutting the conversation short with an air of finality that leaves little room for debate. I'll handle it. We'll talk later. His words hang in the air, a promise that feels more like a burden as he attempts to deflect the looming responsibility. Greg gives him a lingering look before walking away, leaving us standing there in a brief, awkward silence. I feel Lucas's hand tighten around mine as if he's bracing himself for something, but when I look up at him, his expression is calm, maybe a little forced. Who is that? I ask, keeping my tone light, even though there's a knot forming in my stomach that feels like it's tightening with every passing second. The atmosphere around us seems to thicken, and I can't shake the feeling that there's more to the story than he's letting on. Just someone from my dad's business, Lucas replies, brushing it off like it's nothing, as if he's dismissing a trivial nuisance rather than something that could impact him. He's trying to pull me into some meeting I'm not interested in. His casual tone contrasts sharply with the tension radiating from him, and I can't help but wonder what he's really hiding beneath that calm facade. The way he says it is casual, but there's something about the way he changes the subject so quickly, the way he avoids looking directly at me. My instincts prick at the edges of my mind, but I push them down. He's never given me a reason not to trust him, so why does this feel off? I don't press him, even though part of me wants to. I smile instead, letting him lead me back toward the cafe as if nothing happened, but the conversation with Greg lingers in my mind, a shadow that won't quite go away. Later that night, as I lie in bed, staring up at the ceiling, I can't stop thinking about it. Lucas's entire demeanor changed when Greg showed up, and he dismissed the mention of his family business. I don't know why it bothers me so much. It was a brief conversation, hardly anything worth dwelling on, but it reminds me of Damon. I close my eyes, trying to shake the memory, but it rushes back anyway. Damon, with his smooth words and easy lies. Damon, who always had an excuse when I asked too many questions, who kept parts of his life hidden until it was too late for me to realize what was happening. By the time I figured it out, he had control over everything. My career, my choices, even my finances. The thought of going through that again? I can't. I won't. But this is different, isn't it? Lucas isn't Damon. He's never tried to control me. He's never pushed me into anything. He's always been supportive, patient, understanding. So why can't I let this go? I roll onto my side, staring at my phone on the nightstand. Part of me wants to text Lucas to ask him about it, but I stop myself. I don't want to be that person, the one who questions everything, who assumes the worst. I don't want to sabotage something good just because I'm scared of repeating the past. Still, there's this nagging feeling, this small voice in the back of my mind that I can't quite silence. What if he's hiding something? What if he's keeping things from me, just like Damon did? What if I'm falling for someone who isn't who I think he is? The questions swirl around like a storm, relentless and disorienting, as I struggle to find my footing amidst the chaos of my thoughts. I pull the covers tighter around me, cocooning myself in their warmth, trying to push the doubts away as if they were physical entities I could shove aside. I trust Lucas. He's given me no reason not to. His kindness and unwavering support have been a balm to my wounds, but the memory of Damon looms large, a shadow that refuses to fade, and it's hard to ignore the red flags, even if they're only in my head, dancing just out of reach like whispers of a nightmare I can't shake off. I take a deep breath, hoping for clarity, but the unease remains, clinging to me like an unwelcome ghost. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to focus on what I do know. Lucas has been good to me. He's supported me through the ups and downs of getting the green table off the ground. He's never once made me feel small or powerless, and I care about him more than I want to admit, even to myself. I decide to give him the benefit of the doubt. Whatever that conversation with Greg was about, I'll let it go for now. Lucas deserves my trust, and I don't want to jump to conclusions based on one weird interaction. But still, I can't ignore the small voice in my head that tells me to be careful, to protect myself. I can't afford to get hurt again, no matter how much I'm starting to fall for him. Chapter 10. Lucas. I stand at the edge of the vineyard, the rows of vines stretching out before me in perfect lines, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the land. Normally, this view calms me. It's my sanctuary, my place to escape the noise and pressure of everything else, but today even the vineyard can't quiet the storm brewing inside me. Tessa. I run a hand through my hair, thinking about her, about how much I've come to care for her. Love her. It's no longer a question in my mind. Every moment I spend with her makes it clearer. I've fallen for her completely, and the thought of losing her, of watching her walk away when she finds out the truth, terrifies me. I've tried to tell her. God, I've tried. But every time the words get stuck in my throat like a bitter lump, refusing to come out. It's not just fear. It's this overwhelming sense of guilt that wraps around my heart like a vice. The longer I've waited, the worse it's become, each day adding to the burden I carry. It feels like a weight pressing down on my chest, an anchor that grows heavier with every passing moment, turning each breath into a struggle. And now it's unbearable. I know I need to tell her. I know I can't keep living this lie, pretending to be someone I'm not. She deserves the truth, deserves to know who I really am, the man hiding behind a facade of smiles and laughter. But every time I imagine the look in her eyes when she finds out I've been hiding the most important part of my life from her, it stops me cold. The thought of shattering the bond we've built, of watching that warmth turn to confusion and hurt, freezes me in place, and I'm left grappling with this internal war that feels like it might consume me whole. I close my eyes, replaying the last few days in my head. The way she smiled at me, the way she laughed when I told her about the vineyard's first harvest, the way she confided in me about her struggles with the green table, how much it means to her to do it on her own, without any help. And that's what kills me the most. She's told me over and over again how much she despises men who use their wealth to control others. It's not just about Damon. It's about her need for independence, her determination to prove she can do this on her own. If she finds out that I've been lying about my wealth, that I come from a family of billionaires, I don't know if she'll ever be able to forgive me. I glance down at my phone, the screen lighting up with another message from my father. The ultimatum he gave me still rings in my ears. Return to New York by the end of the month or be cut off. It's a hollow threat, really. I don't care about the money, about the fortune. That's not what drives me anymore. What I care about is Tessa. She's the only thing that matters now. But the clock is ticking. I can feel it. The time slipping away. Every day I put this off, I'm digging myself deeper into a hole I might not be able to climb out of. The truth will come out eventually. It always does. And when it does, I'm terrified of what it will do to us. I turn back toward the house, the familiar feeling of dread settling in my gut. I've played out the conversation 100 times in my head. How I'd sit her down, explain everything, tell her that I never meant to lie, that I just wanted to find someone who loved me for me, not for my money or my family's name. But every time I get close, something stops me. Fear. Timing. The bond between us that keeps growing stronger every day. How do you risk something so good? How do you shatter the trust you've built? I take a deep breath, steadying myself against the weight of uncertainty, and pull my phone from my pocket. My fingers glide over the screen as I scroll through my contacts, finally landing on her name. Tessa. It feels like an anchor, a lifeline, yet my thumb hovers hesitantly above the call button. Should I summon the courage to reach out and ask her to meet me? Should I finally lay bare the truth that has been gnawing at my insides, the truth I've kept buried for far too long? But then, the familiar voice in my head, the one that's been whispering doubt and caution for weeks, stops me in my tracks. What if she can't forgive you? What if this shatters everything we've built together? The fear curls around my thoughts like smoke, suffocating and relentless. I let out a frustrated sigh, the sound heavy with the weight of my internal struggle, and shove the phone back into my pocket as if it were a hot coal. Not today. Not yet. But soon, I remind myself. I can't keep putting this off. I know that all too well. Every time I look at her, every time she flashes that beautiful smile that lights up her eyes and sends warmth coursing through me, I feel the lie hanging between us like a dark cloud, threatening to unleash a storm. It's only a matter of time before it breaks, and I dread what will pour forth in its wake. I head inside, the quiet of the house doing little to ease my mind. The vineyard might be my sanctuary, but right now, even it feels suffocating. I sit down at the kitchen table, resting my elbows on the worn wood, staring out the window at the rows of vines stretching into the distance. This place has always been my escape from my family, from the pressure of living up to the Devereaux name. But now it feels like I'm trapped between two worlds. The world of my family, who expects me to return to New York, to take up the mantle of the family business, and the world I've built here with Tessa, where I can just be myself. The problem is, those two worlds are about to collide, and I don't know if I can stop the fallout. My phone buzzes again, and this time, my father's name flashes across the screen like a warning sign. I grip my teeth, feeling a familiar knot of tension tighten in my stomach. I hesitate for a moment, staring at the screen, weighing my options before I finally decide to answer. Lucas. My father's voice comes through the line, cold and sharp, slicing through the air like a blade. We need to talk. I let out a sigh, rubbing the back of my neck in an attempt to ease the tension that has settled there. I already told you, I'm not coming back. The words come out more defiantly than I intend, but I can't help it. The thought of returning to that suffocating world makes my skin crawl. His response is immediate, as if he's been expecting this fight. You don't have a choice, Lucas. This deal's too important. You're a Devereaux, and that means something. You can't just walk away. I've already walked away, I snap, the frustration bubbling to the surface, hot and unyielding. I'm not interested in the deal or the family business. I have my own life here, one that doesn't revolve around the Devereux name or its expectations. There's a pause, thick and suffocating, the kind that tells me he's not really listening. He never does. "You have until the end of the month," he says coldly, his tone devoid of any warmth. "After that, you'll lose everything you think you've built." I clench my jaw, fighting to keep my voice steady, even as anger threatens to spill over. "I don't care about the money, Dad. I never did. What's the point of wealth when it comes with strings attached and a legacy I never asked for?" "It's not just about the money," he replies, his voice sharp with resolve. "It's about the family, your legacy. You can't throw that away like it means nothing." The weight of his words hangs in the air, a reminder of the burdens I'm desperate to shed. I end the call, not wanting to hear any more. My father doesn't understand, and he never will, but the weight of his ultimatum still hangs over me, and I know that the moment of truth is coming, whether I'm ready or not. I close my eyes, the image of Tessa's face filling my mind. I love her, and that's why I have to tell her, before it's too late. Chapter 11. Tessa. The warm, familiar scent of coffee surrounds me as I sit at my usual table in the corner of the local cafe, flipping absent-mindedly through a magazine. It's one of those quiet afternoons where everything feels settled, like things are finally falling into place. Lucas and I have been spending more time together, and for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. But all of that shatters in an instant. My hand freezes on the page, my heart skipping a beat as I see a familiar face staring back at me. It's Lucas. No, not Lucas. The man in the photo is Lucas Devereux, heir to one of the most powerful business empires in the country. I blink, hoping I'm imagining it, but the headline is clear. Lucas Devereux, the billionaire behind the family's growing empire. I feel the blood drain from my face as I scan the article, my heart pounding louder with every word that jumps off the page like a jarring alarm. Heir, billionaire, family empire. None of this fits with the Lucas I know, the Lucas who loves the vineyard, who finds joy in the simple things, who's humble and grounded in a world that often values wealth and status above all else. I keep reading, my eyes racing over the text, the words blurring together like a smudged painting as the harsh reality begins to sink in, like ice water pouring over my skin. It's all been a lie. So every moment we've shared, from our laughter under the stars to the quiet conversations that felt so intimate, every connection that seemed so genuine, it's all tainted now by this revelation. He didn't tell me. He never told me, and the betrayal stings like a sharp knife. And I thought he was different, that he was someone I could trust, someone who would be open with me. But now doubts swirl in my mind, and I feel the ground beneath me shift, leaving me shaken and confused. I slam the magazine shut, my hands trembling as I push it away, my mind racing. Everything feels surreal, like I'm stuck in a nightmare I can't wake up from. How could he do this? How could he keep something so important from me? After everything I've told him about Damon, about how much I despise men who use their power and wealth to control others, he hid this from me? I grab my things and storm out of the cafe, barely noticing the stares of the other customers as I pass. My body feels like it's on autopilot, the anger building inside me with every step. By the time I reach my car, I can barely contain the fury coursing through me. I don't even hesitate before driving straight to his house. When I pull up to the vineyard, my heart is still racing. I don't even care that I didn't give him a heads up. I don't care about anything right now except getting answers. My entire body is shaking as I walk up to the porch and bang on the door, each knock harder than the last. He opens the door, and the moment he catches sight of my face, his smile evaporates like mist in the morning sun. "Tessa, what's—" His words hang in the air, heavy with confusion. I hold up the magazine, my hand trembling not just from anger, but from the sheer weight of betrayal coursing through me. "Care to explain this?" I demand, my voice sharp and unyielding. Lucas's eyes widen as he steals a glance at the magazine, and I can see the panic creeping into his expression, a flicker of recognition that confirms my worst fears. He knows. He knows exactly what this is about, and that realization only fuels my anger further. "Tessa, let me explain," he starts, desperation lacing his tone, but I cut him off, my voice shaking not just with rage but with the hurt that accompanies it. "Explain what? How you thought you could hide this from me?" "Explain? You've been lying to me this whole time, Lucas. You told me you owned a vineyard, that you were just a regular guy, but you're not, are you? You're a billionaire. You've been lying to me about everything." He steps toward me, his hands raised in a calming gesture, but it only makes me angrier. "Tessa, I wasn't trying to lie to you. I just—" "Weren't trying to lie?" I snap, my voice rising. "You hid this from me. You let me believe you were someone you're not. You knew what I went through with Damon. You knew how much I hated being controlled by someone with money and power. And you—" My voice cracks as the betrayal washes over me. "You let me believe you were different." "I am different," Lucas says, his voice pleading now. "Tessa, please, just let me explain. I didn't want to be judged for my money. I wanted you to get to know me without all of that hanging over us." My chest tightens as I stare at him, his words doing nothing to ease the pain that's spreading through me. "So what? You just thought it'd be better to lie to me? To hide who you really are until—" "What? Until you couldn't anymore?" His silence speaks volumes. He doesn't have an answer for that. I shake my head, my voice barely above a whisper now. "You're just like him, just like Damon. You used me, manipulated me into thinking you were something you're not." Lucas's face pales, the color draining as my words seem to cut him deeper than I intended. "No, Tessa, I didn't use you. I care about you. I love you." The declaration hangs in the air, thick and charged, striking me like a slap across the face. For a fleeting moment, I almost let myself believe him, almost allow the warmth of those words to seep into my heart. Almost. But then the anger surges back, a tidal wave of betrayal and hurt, stronger than ever. "You don't get to say that to me. Not after everything. Not after lying to me like this." My voice trembles, a mix of pain and fury coursing through me. I turn on my heel, determined to leave this conversation behind, but he grabs my arm, his touch gentle yet desperate, as if he fears I might slip away forever. "Please don't walk away. Let's talk about this. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." His eyes hold a plea, a flicker of vulnerability, but all I can feel is the weight of his deception pressing down on my chest. I wrench my arm free, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "It doesn't matter how you meant for it to happen, Lucas. What matters is that you lied to me. You hid who you really are, and I can't be with someone who does that." His face crumples, twisting in a way that makes my heart ache despite everything. For a brief moment, I see the pain in his eyes, a flicker of regret that cuts through the anger bubbling inside me, but it's too late for that now. He made his choice when he decided to keep this from me, when he chose deceit over honesty. "I'm done," I say, my voice cold and final, like the closing of a heavy door slamming shut. "We're done." The weight of the words hangs in the air between us, a definitive end to what once felt so promising. And with that, I walk away, leaving him standing on the porch, devastated. Chapter 12. Lucas. I knew it would hurt. I just didn't realize it would feel like this, like everything inside me is being ripped apart. Tessa hasn't answered any of my calls. Every text I've sent has gone unanswered. I've been replaying the moment she stormed out of my house over and over in my mind, trying to figure out how I could have handled it differently, what I could have said, what I could have done to make her stay. But none of it matters. She's gone. And it's my fault. I sit on the porch of the vineyard, staring out at the rows of vines that usually bring me peace, but now they just feel empty, hollow. This place used to be my sanctuary, the one thing I could control, the life I built away from the expectations of the Devereux name. But even here, I can't escape the weight of what I've done. She trusted me. I can still see the look in her eyes when she found out the truth. Betrayal, hurt, anger. I should have told her sooner. I should have been honest from the beginning, but I didn't. And now I've lost her. The guilt presses down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I glance at my phone again, hoping for something, anything. But the screen stays dark. She's really gone. And no amount of apologizing or explaining seems to matter. I can't live like this. I can't go back to pretending like I belong in the world my family has carved out for me. It doesn't matter how much money is at stake or what kind of deals they've lined up for me. None of it means anything without her. I pull out my phone and dial my father's number, my fingers tightening around the edges of the device as it rings. He picks up after the second ring, his voice clipped, businesslike as always. Lucas, I've been expecting your call. We need to discuss. I'm done, I say, cutting him off before he can lay out the intricacies of his expectations. My voice is steadier than I anticipated, but there's a finality in it that leaves no room for argument or negotiation. There's a pause on the other end, the silence stretching like a taut wire. What do you mean, you're done? I'm walking away. From the family business, the empire, all of it. The words feel like they've been building inside me for weeks, a tangled knot of emotions and frustrations. But now they're out, and there's no taking them back. I don't want this life. It's not who I am. Lucas, this is absurd, my father says, his voice rising in frustration, the familiar edge of disappointment cutting through the airwaves. You can't just walk away from everything. You're a Deborah. We've built this empire for you, for your future. You don't get to just throw it away. I'm not throwing anything away, I say, gripping the phone tighter, my knuckles whitening as my resolve strengthens. I'm choosing a different future. One that I actually want, one that's mine to define. And what future is that? He asks, his tone dripping with disbelief, as if he can't fathom a world outside the one he has meticulously crafted for me. A vineyard? Some small-town fantasy? You know that's not reality. I don't care about the money, Dad, I snap, the frustration finally bubbling over. None of this means anything to me. I thought I could live with it, but I can't. I'm done being the person you want me to be. There's another long pause on the line, and I can feel the weight of my father's disapproval seeping through the phone. You're making a mistake, Lucas, he says quietly, but his words are laced with disappointment. You'll regret this. Maybe, I admit, but it's my choice to make. I hang up before he can say anything else, my heart pounding in my chest as I sit there, staring at the phone in my hand. It's done. The tie is severed. And for the first time in a long time, I feel a strange sense of relief, like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. But it's not enough. Walking away from my family, from the Devereux Empire, is a start, but it's not going to fix what I've done to Tessa. I push myself up from the chair, my legs feeling restless as I begin to pace the porch. The cool evening air brushes against my skin, but it does little to calm the storm brewing in my mind. Each step feels heavy with the weight of my thoughts. I have to show her that I'm not like Damon, that I'm not the man she thinks I am. But how? How do I prove to her that my love is real, that I genuinely respect her, that I want her to succeed on her own terms, free from the shadows of my past? I can't just approach her with empty promises, hollow words that would fall flat and shatter at her feet. She won't believe me. And honestly, I don't blame her. I've kept the truth from her for far too long. Now I find myself at a crossroads where I need to demonstrate my sincerity, that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right, to earn her trust back, and to show her that I can be the man she deserves. The thought of it sends a jolt of determination through me, yet fear lingers just beneath the surface. How do I even begin? The vineyard stretches out before me, a reminder of the life I've built here, the life I want to share with her, but it has to be on her terms. I've seen how hard she's worked to build the green table, how much it means to her to do it on her own. The last thing she needs is someone swooping in to rescue her. She doesn't want that, and I won't be that person. But I can help. I can offer her support, on her terms, in a way that shows her I respect her independence, that I'm not trying to control her life or make decisions for her. It's crucial that she feels empowered, that she knows I see her strength and am here to uplift her, not overshadow her. It's going to take more than words to win her back. I know that. Actions will speak louder than any promises I could make. I need to be there for her, showing through my choices that I believe in her vision and her ability to forge her own path. But I also know that I can't give up. Not now. Not when I finally figured out what matters. After all this time, it's clearer than ever that my heart is tied to hers, and I refuse to let fear dictate my next steps. I pull out my phone again, staring at her name on the screen. There's so much I want to say, but I know that right now, words won't be enough. I have to prove it. I have to show her that I'm willing to fight for her, for us, without taking away the things that make her who she is. And I will. No matter what it takes, I'm going to make this right. Chapter 13. Tessa. It's quiet inside the green table, too quiet. The kind of stillness that fills the space when the rush of excitement is long gone, replaced by the dull hum of reality. I sit at one of the tables, staring down at the stack of bills that's been growing over the past few weeks. The numbers blur together, a constant reminder of how much harder this has all been than I ever imagined. We were supposed to be open by now, buzzing with customers, the aroma of fresh, locally sourced food filling the air, mingling with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Instead, I find myself drowning in debt, suffocating under the weight of mounting bills, and the opening has been delayed yet again. This place, my vision, was meant to be my dream. A sanctuary of culinary delights that would not only nourish the body but also nourish my spirit. It was my chance to prove to myself that I could do this on my own. But all I feel is the pressure closing in from every side, like the walls are slowly creeping closer, threatening to crush me under their relentless advance. In a moment of pure frustration, I swipe the pile of bills off the table, my heart racing as I watch them scatter like fallen leaves across the floor. Each piece of paper feels like a weight added to my already strained shoulders. It doesn't matter how much I work, how meticulously I plan, none of it seems to be enough, as if the universe is conspiring against me. And now I'm faced with the one thing I swore I would never do, taking on an investor, relinquishing a piece of my dream to someone else who might not understand the passion that fuels it. The thought twists in my gut, filling me with a sense of defeat I never thought I'd feel. Mia's been pushing me toward it, gently nudging me to consider it as the only way to save the green table. "You can't keep doing this by yourself, Tessa," she'd said, her voice soft but insistent. And she's right. But the idea of giving up control, of letting someone else have a say in my dream, it goes against everything I stand for. I lean back in the chair, closing my eyes for a moment, trying to breathe through the frustration, through the uncertainty that clings to me like a heavy fog. The weight of my thoughts presses down, every breath feeling like a battle. But no matter how hard I try to focus on anything else, all I can think about is Lucas, his smile, the way he effortlessly commanded a room, and the lingering warmth of his presence that still dances in my memory. It's been weeks since that day, since I stormed out of his house, hurt and furious. The image of his face as I left burned into my memory. He's tried to reach me, calls, texts, all of it, but I haven't answered. I can't. Because the truth is, I miss him. Despite everything, despite the lies and the betrayal, I miss him more than I want to admit. There's a hollow ache in my chest every time I think about him, about the moments we shared, the way he made me feel like I could be myself around him, like I was safe. But how can I forgive him? How can I just let go of the fact that he lied to me, that he hid the most important part of his life from me? Every time I think about it, the anger flares up again, the hurt twisting inside me. He's just like Damon, isn't he? I press my palms into my eyes, trying to block out the thought, but it's no use. Lucas isn't Damon. He never tried to control me, never made me feel small or powerless. He respected me, listened to me, cared about me in a way that felt real. And the more I think about it, the more I start to realize that maybe, just maybe, his feelings for me were genuine, even if everything else wasn't. I open my eyes, staring up at the ceiling, the weight of it all pressing down on me. I've been so afraid of being controlled again, of being trapped by someone else's wealth and power, that I pushed him away without even trying to understand why he lied. Maybe he did it because he thought I wouldn't give him a chance otherwise. Maybe he did it because he really does love me. But how do I forgive him? How do I let myself believe that his love was real when everything else feels like a lie? My mind flashes back to our last conversation, the way he looked at me, eyes wide and pleading, desperate for me to understand, to believe him. And for a moment, I did. I could see the truth shimmering in his eyes, the weight of regret that hung heavy in the air between us. But forgiving him feels like betraying myself, like letting go of the principles I've clung to for so long, principles that have been my shield against the world. I'm caught in a whirlwind, torn between my heart and my head, caught in the fierce battle between the fear of being hurt again and the undeniable truth that's slowly becoming harder to ignore. Maybe I've been so focused on erecting walls to protect myself from men like Damon that I failed to notice what was right in front of me, someone who loved me for who I truly am, not for what I could offer him. His affection felt genuine, a warmth I hadn't expected to find. But the hurt is still too fresh, the betrayal too raw, leaving jagged scars that throb with each painful thought. How do you move past that? How do you open yourself up to someone who's already shattered your trust, who's made you question everything you thought you knew about love and loyalty? The fear grips me tightly, making it hard to breathe, as I grapple with the possibility of letting him in again. My phone buzzes on the table, pulling me out of my thoughts. It's another message from Mia, probably checking in again to see if I've made a decision about the investor. I stare at the screen for a moment, my thumb hovering over the message, but I can't bring myself to open it. Taking on an investor would save the restaurant, but at what cost? Losing control of my dream? Giving up the independence I fought so hard for? I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads, and no matter which path I choose, I'm going to lose something important. And then there's Lucas. I miss him. God, I miss him. But missing him isn't enough. I need more than that. I need to know that I can trust him, that he won't hurt me the way Damon did. I need to know that his love is real and that it's worth fighting for. I glance down at the bills scattered across the floor, a harsh reminder of everything I'm trying to hold on to. Maybe the answer isn't as black and white as I've been telling myself. Maybe it's okay to ask for help, to let people in, to trust someone enough to share the load. Maybe it's okay to forgive. Chapter 14. Lucas. The sun is starting to set as I pull up to the green table. The warm golden light casts a soft glow over the front of the restaurant, and for a moment I just sit there, staring at it. My heart is pounding in my chest, my palms slick against the steering wheel. I've been rehearsing what I'm going to say all the way here, but now that I'm parked outside, the words are slipping away from me. This is it. This is the moment. I'm not here to beg or make excuses. I'm not here to fix things in the way I thought I could before. I'm here to offer her what she needs, on her terms. And if she chooses to walk away after this, I'll respect that, even if it breaks me. I take a deep breath and step out of the car, feeling the cool evening air brush against my skin. The place looks quiet. I glance at the window and see Tessa inside, her head bent over a pile of papers at one of the tables. My heart clenches at the sight of her. She looks exhausted, weighed down by the struggles she's facing, struggles I've caused in part. I make my way to the door, pushing it open gently, the soft chime of the bell echoing in the stillness and catching her attention. She looks up, her eyes widening in surprise when they meet mine, a mix of disbelief and something deeper flickering across her features. "Lucas," she says, her voice soft but guarded, as if bracing herself for what's to come. I offer a small, tentative smile, knowing full well this isn't a social call. "Hey, can we talk?" The words feel heavy in the air, laden with unspoken tension and the weight of everything that's passed between us. She hesitates, glancing down at the paperwork spread across the table, her fingers fidgeting with the edges. The moment stretches, and I can see the uncertainty swirling in her eyes, the walls she's built around herself to shield from any further hurt. But after what feels like an eternity, she nods slightly and motions for me to sit down. I take a seat across from her, the chair creaking under my weight, and my heart races in my chest. I didn't expect to feel this nervous, but here I am, grappling with a rush of emotions and trying to find the right words amidst the chaos in my mind. The air thickens with unspoken thoughts, and I can't help but wonder if this conversation will bridge the chasm that has opened between us or deepen it further. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," I begin, my voice low and steady. "I'm not even here to fix things. I know I can't do that. But I've been thinking, a lot actually, and I realize that what you need, what the green table needs, is support, not a rescue." She watches me, her expression unreadable, but I can feel her listening, waiting for what comes next. "I know you've been struggling to keep things afloat," I continue, my voice softening. "And I know how much this place means to you, how much it represents your independence, your hard work. So, I'm here with a proposal, not a romantic one, but a business one." She raises an eyebrow, clearly intrigued but wary. I can't blame her. "My vineyard," I explain, leaning forward slightly. "It's got the resources, the network, to help supply your restaurant with the kind of high-quality, locally sourced ingredients you're passionate about. You wouldn't lose control. You'd still be in charge, still be the one making all the decisions. This would just elevate what you've already built. Tessa's eyes narrow slightly as she processes my words, her fingers brushing over the papers in front of her with a delicate precision. There's a flicker of skepticism in her gaze, as if she's weighing my intentions against the backdrop of our history. "And why would you do that?" she asks, her voice carefully measured, each syllable crafted with caution. "Why help me after everything?" The question hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken memories and shared struggles, and I can sense the walls she's built around herself, fortified by past betrayals. I take a deep breath. This is the part that matters the most, the part I need her to understand. Because I respect you, and because I know I messed up. I didn't trust you with who I really was, and I hurt you. For that, I'm truly sorry. But I walked away from my family's business. The corporate world, the money, it doesn't matter to me anymore. What matters is doing something meaningful, and what matters is you. Her expression softens, just for a moment, but I can see the conflict still written across her face. You walked away? I nod, my throat tightening as I explain. I'm done with it all. The deals, the empire, the expectations. It's not the life I want. I left it behind because I finally realized what's important. And it's not money or power. It's the life I want to build. And you're a part of that. But only if you want to be. The room feels heavy with the weight of my words, the silence stretching between us. Tessa stares at me, her eyes searching mine for something, maybe sincerity, maybe the truth I should have given her from the beginning. I'm not here to fix things, I say again, my voice quieter now, almost tentative. I'm here to support you, to give you the help you deserve without taking away your independence. And if you don't want that, if you don't want me, I'll walk away. I'll respect whatever you decide. The weight of those words hangs in the air, and I can feel the tension coiling between us like a tightly wound spring. The last thing I want is to pressure her. I want her to feel empowered in this moment, not cornered. I stand, my legs feeling shaky beneath me, an unsettling mix of vulnerability and resolve coursing through me. I take a step back from the table, creating a physical distance that mirrors the emotional space I'm trying to give her. Tessa remains silent, her gaze fixed on the papers sprawled out before her, but I can sense the wheels turning in her mind. I can tell she's processing everything I've said, weighing it against her own feelings, her own life. This is her decision now. I've laid everything out, given her the choice, and I hope she sees it as a gift rather than an ultimatum. That's all I can do. I'll let you think about it, I say, my voice barely above a whisper, tinged with a mix of hope and anxiety. You don't have to decide right now. The words hang in the air, a fragile promise of patience, as I take a deep breath, allowing the silence to envelop us, hoping it gives her the space she needs to find her own answer. And with that, I turn and walk toward the door, the cool night air rushing in as I step outside. The sound of the door closing behind me feels final, like a chapter closing in a book, but I leave knowing that, for the first time, I've given her what she truly deserves, the power to choose. Chapter 15. Tessa. I sit at the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, my fingers hovering over Lucas's name. His gesture, his offer to help me on my terms, has been replaying in my mind ever since he walked out of the green table. I've tried to push it aside, to tell myself that it doesn't change anything, that the hurt and betrayal are still too fresh. But deep down, I know the truth. It wasn't about control. It was never about trying to manipulate me or wield his wealth as a means to sway my decisions. No, he was protecting what we had, even if the way he went about it was misguided. And now he's given me the one thing I've always desired, the power to choose my own path. I take a deep breath, feeling a rush of emotion swirl in my chest, fear, hope, and maybe even a flicker of excitement that I can't quite suppress. The ache of his absence is palpable. I can't deny how much I miss him, how long I've yearned for him to embody the man I once believed him to be. And perhaps, just perhaps, beneath the layers of complexity, he's still that man. My thumb hovers over the call button for a second longer, the weight of my decision pressing down on me, and then I press it, the sound of the ringing slicing through the thick silence of the room. Each ring feels like an eternity, stretching out in front of me as my heart pounds faster with every passing second. The anticipation builds, an electric energy coursing through me, and then finally he answers. "Tessa?" His voice is soft, cautious, like he doesn't quite believe I'm calling. I swallow hard, trying to steady my nerves. "Hey, can we meet? I think we need to talk." There's a pause on the other end, and I can almost hear the tension in his breath. "Of course. I'll come to you." We meet later that evening at a small park not far from my apartment. It's quiet, with only the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze and the distant hum of city life in the background. I sit on a bench, waiting, my heart racing as I see Lucas approach. He looks nervous, his hands shoved in his pockets, but there's something different in his posture, like a weight has been lifted from his shoulders. He sits down beside me, leaving a small space between us, and for a moment, neither of us says anything. The silence stretches out, but it's not uncomfortable. It's like we're both gathering the courage to say what needs to be said. "I've been thinking about what you said." I finally begin, my voice barely above a whisper, as if the very air around us might carry my words away. "About why you kept everything from me." The weight of those unspoken truths hangs heavily between us, a palpable tension that seems to thrum in the air. Lucas turns to face me, his eyes searching mine with an intensity that sends a shiver down my spine. "And?" he prompts, his tone both cautious and expectant, as if he knows this conversation could change everything. And I realize that maybe I've been holding onto the past too tightly. I admit, the words feeling raw but necessary. I was so afraid of being controlled again, of being used, that I didn't give you a chance to explain. But I see now that you weren't trying to control me. You were just protecting what we had. His shoulders relax slightly, a subtle shift that hints at the tension easing within him, but he doesn't interrupt. Instead, he maintains eye contact, his expression encouraging and patient. He's letting me speak, creating a space for me to pour out my thoughts, letting me get it all out without fear of judgment or interruption. "I understand why you didn't tell me the truth right away," I continue, my voice growing steadier. "And I know you weren't trying to manipulate me. But Lucas, I need to set some boundaries. I need to know that, moving forward, we're equals. I need to know that I have control over my own life, my decisions, my dream." Lucas nods, his eyes soft but serious. "I understand, Tessa. And I promise you, I'll respect that. I want us to be equals. I don't want to take away anything from you, only to support you in whatever way you need." There's a sincerity in his voice that pulls at something deep inside me, a vulnerability that I haven't seen in him before. And for the first time in weeks, I feel the tightness in my chest begin to ease. "I've missed you," I admit, the words tumbling out before I can stop them, surprising even myself with their suddenness. The confession hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken emotions. But I couldn't just move past what happened without setting things straight first? Lucas reaches out, his hand hovering uncertainly between us for a moment, as if weighing the distance that has grown between us. Then, with a gentle assurance, it finds mine, his warmth spreading through my fingers. "I've missed you too, Tessa, more than you know." His voice carries a depth of feeling that resonates within me, stirring up a mix of relief and longing that I thought I had buried. We sit there in the fading light, the weight of everything finally beginning to lift. For the first time, I feel like we're on equal ground, like we can build something real and lasting, something based on trust, respect, and love. "I'm willing to try again," I say quietly, turning to look at him fully. "But I need to know that you'll respect my boundaries, that we'll move forward together, on equal terms." Lucas's eyes soften, a small smile playing at the corners of his lips, illuminating his features in the dim light around us. "I promise you, Tessa, no more secrets, no more lies. I'm all in, on your terms." His words wrap around me like a warm blanket, and the relief that washes over me is almost overwhelming, yet it feels incredibly freeing. I nod slowly, savoring the moment, feeling a sense of peace that I haven't experienced in what feels like an eternity. "Okay," I whisper, my heart lighter than it's been in weeks, as if the burden I've carried is finally being lifted, piece by piece. We sit there for a while longer, not needing to fill the silence with words. For the first time, it feels like we're on the same page, both ready to move forward, together. Chapter 16. Tessa. The sun is setting outside the green table, casting a soft golden light over the restaurant's cozy interior. I stand behind the counter, watching as the last few customers finish their meals, the sound of quiet conversation and soft clinking of silverware filling the air. This place, the one I fought so hard to build, to protect, is thriving. And every time I see it filled with happy customers, it reminds me that every struggle, every sleepless night was worth it. The green table has become more than just a restaurant. It's my dream come to life. And in part, it's because of the partnership with Devereux Vineyards. Lucas's vineyard has given me access to the kind of fresh, high-quality ingredients that elevate my farm-to-table vision. But the best part? I've never had to sacrifice my independence. The control is still mine, and that's something I hold on to proudly. I glance out the window, and there he is. Lucas is standing outside, talking to one of the vendors who delivers produce, a warm smile on his face. He looks relaxed, content in a way I hadn't seen before we reconciled. He's found peace here, away from the corporate world, away from the weight of his family's expectations. He's built a new life, one that fits the man he truly is, not the role others wanted him to play. I still remember the conversation that brought us back together, the way he listened, truly listened, as I set my boundaries and told him what I needed. And he kept his promise. He's respected every boundary, every decision. We're equals now in every way that matters. As Lucas steps inside, his presence instantly brightens the room, casting away any lingering shadows of the day. The soft hum of conversations and clinking glasses seems to shift, drawing attention to him as he walks over to me. He slips an arm around my waist, pulling me closer, and presses a soft kiss to my temple, a gesture that sends warmth coursing through me. "How's it looking tonight?" he asks, his voice warm and familiar, wrapping around me like a cozy blanket. "Busy," I reply, smiling as I glance around the restaurant, taking in the lively atmosphere, but in the best way possible. The tables are filled with laughter, and the enticing aroma of food wafts through the air, a testament to the hard work I've poured into this place. Lucas grins, his eyes sparkling with pride as he surveys the scene. "I never doubted you. This place is everything you wanted it to be." His words resonate within me, a validation of all the late nights and early mornings, of every challenge we faced together. In this moment, surrounded by the buzz of our dreams coming to life, I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the journey that has brought us here. There's a comfort between us now, a quiet understanding that we've built something strong, not just the partnership between the vineyard and the restaurant, but our relationship. It's rooted in trust, respect, and love, everything we fought hard to create. "Do you have a minute to sit?" Lucas asks, his voice warm and inviting as he nods toward one of the corner tables, a little haven tucked away from the bustle around us. "Of course," I reply, feeling a rush of anticipation. We make our way over to the quiet spot, where the soft glow of the overhead lights casts a gentle warmth around us. As we settle into the moment together, the clatter of dishes and the distant laughter from other patrons begin to fade, leaving just the two of us in our own little world. As we sit, I lean back in my chair, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. "It's strange," I say, looking out the window at the bustling street beyond. "I used to worry so much about losing control, about someone else dictating how things would go, but now it doesn't feel like that at all." Lucas nods, reaching across the table to take my hand in his. "Because you haven't lost control. You've built this, Tessa. You did it on your own terms, and I'm just here to support you." His words, so simple yet so powerful, make my heart swell with warmth. "I know," I whisper, "and that's why it works. That's why we work." We sit there in comfortable silence for a moment, just enjoying the quiet, the connection between us stronger than ever. I glance around at the restaurant, the soft glow of the candles on the tables, the contented expressions of the diners, and I feel a surge of pride. This is my dream, and now it's our future. "What do you think about taking a little time off?" Lucas asks, a mischievous smile tugging at his lips, his eyes sparkling with playful intrigue. I raise an eyebrow, my curiosity piqued. Time off. From the restaurant? You know that's asking a lot, I reply, crossing my arms as I lean back slightly in my chair. The thought of stepping away from my passion feels almost foreign. He laughs, his eyes twinkling. Come on, just a few days. We could visit a new vineyard I've been hearing about. Get some ideas. Maybe a little wine tasting. Just the two of us. The thought of a quiet getaway, just us, fills me with a sense of anticipation. We've worked so hard to build this life together, but I love that we're still dreaming, still planning, still finding time for each other. I think that sounds perfect, I say, smiling at him. We fall into an easy conversation, talking about the future, new plans for the restaurant, potential expansions for the vineyard, maybe even a few personal dreams we've been holding on to. There's no rush, no pressure, just the two of us, planning a life built on the best of both our worlds. As the evening light fades into dusk, I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this restaurant, for the love we found, for the future we're building together. It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. And for the first time in a long time, I know that everything is exactly as it should be. This was matched with The Billionaire by Molly Arden. You can listen to more free audiobooks by subscribing to my YouTube or by going to Amazon. You can also read my books in Kindle Unlimited or by purchasing them on Amazon.